All right, I'm here representing Immport, which is a data repository funded by NIH, NIAT, and DATE. When DATE funds studies, the responsibility of studies at the end of the time that they're completed is to submit data to Immport so that data can be shared and reused by other organizations. Basically available to about anybody in the world if you request a login and password. And we were fortunate in this endeavor that we also worked with the CEDAR team where we exported the import metadata into a CEDAR model, which was a JSON LD format. So we had a little bit of experience with this, and I think it helped us when we tried to do this for the bioCADDIE into the DAX format. And I apologize, I put this together very quickly on Friday. It's a PDF. Okay. Just to show you, this is the Immport homepage, and I'll go real quickly about this. We have right now 242 studies that have been publicly shared. We have about another 160 in the pipeline that are in the process of being curated or they're embargoed until publication or things like that. So there's the homepage. We have a search page, and like I said, you're not expected to see those are up. But it's similar, I think, to the bioCADDIE page where you can do a keyword search and then you can facet. And the idea is to get to studies of interest, and then once you find the study that you may be interested in and you may delve a little bit further into them, you can go to a detailed page and we have all the information about the study. What were the arms, what was the condition studied, how many subjects, what kind of experimental results are available, like if there's ELISA results, flow cytometry results, things like that. And then once you're found studies of interest, we provide all the data for download, and this is attached to a Aspera for a little bit of speed. You can download the data in tab format, the data in MySQL format, and you can do this on a study-by-study basis, or you can download for all the studies. We have an all studies package too, so if you want to do research across multiple studies. And then all the raw data that we collect, which is like flow cytometry results, things like that. Gene expression data, that's still housed like in Geo, but we have links to the Geo accounts, or DDGAP, things like that. And then if you want to do analysis, this is mostly geared now for flow cytometry. We have a Galaxy instance where you can do that sort of research. This is very hard to see. This is actually our study model. You can't see it, but there's based on a study. Study has arms. Subjects are linked to arms, and then biosamples are taken from the subjects or acquired some matter, and then they go through some kind of experimental process, be that ELISA, LSI, EJI, that kind of thing. So it's quite a detailed model, and then this is just a subset. We're old school. We have an ER diagram. So our task was to take this data in the relational database and export it into DAX. What we used mainly for the mapping, and it was very useful, was the primary source was the GitHub site by Alexandra and Philippe. They had sample instances there that we used. They have the JSON schema, and they have a code that shows you how to validate the schema once you load it into it. So that was very, very useful, and since I'm a Python fan, I was glad I was in Python. It made me very happy. And then we also used the DAX 2.1 specification. Found the diagram, it's very, very useful. And then the two appendices, that 1 and 2, were the mapping Alejandra mentioned earlier. It's very great, good. And then there's a nice overview paper that was mentioned earlier. And then we also tried, tried to look at the videos, and some of them were very, very useful. And I guess from the workshop about a year ago, would have been very useful, but the sound quality wasn't too good. But other than that, I really enjoyed the talks by Philippe. I think they were very useful as we went through the process of trying to map the data. And just, need to do this too much, but we use Python. We have an object relational mapping layer over top of our database. And then we can either use SQL queries or the object relational mapping to pull the data out. So I basically pull the data out into objects. And then there's a templating language in Python called Jinja 2. And I took that schema and basically built templates of that schema. And then you can, there's variables within the schema that then you fill in your the data that we want to fill in into the schema. So that kind of separates the extraction data on our side with producing that schema on the other side. So that schema changes, I won't have to change how we pull data out so much, just have to change the schemas on the other side. And this worked, well, I would say fairly well for what we're doing with the Cedar group, where we had to create instances, and we also create templates on the fly to load into Cedar, and we use a similar process for this. And I won't go with it. I don't think there's a lot of Python here. So what would have been useful for us, one was if we had had a test site where we could have submitted the data that we put into the JSON schema in DAX format, and then reviewed that data so we could see where things ended up. Because it was kind of a black box for us, and we're not sure exactly what data we put in, where it was going to appear on the other side. That would have been very different. The instances available on GitHub were very, very useful. More would have been better. And then I have a couple questions that I guess we're hoping to be responsible for submitting data on our own, since we think we have the capability. How are incremental updates going to be done? Because what we do is as studies become available and can be released to the public, we release them about on a quarterly basis. So there might be 10 new studies, 20 new studies, so it depends on what's in the pipeline. And then some of the old studies have been further annotated since the time when they were originally released, so there may be updates to those studies. Okay? So that's a question. And then the data schema specification, hopefully we've insulated ourselves a little bit from when it changes, but how much it changes and how often can be a problem. And I would say this is an interesting problem for us because we require people to submit data to Immport. So now we're on the other side where we're actually trying to submit data to another repository. So it's an interesting thing for us. So.